How about them Cowboys? Angry Cowboys fan. Born to battle. Some just means we never sell. America's team through thick and thin. When the sun shines bright, that's where we win. Angry Cowboys fan.
What's going on, Cowboys Nation and Angry Cowboys fans around the world? Y'all know who it is. It's your man, the Angry Cowboys Fan. And as of yesterday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it's official. George Pickens will be playing on the franchise tag for the Dallas Cowboys for the 2026 season. Though everyone should have seen this coming, for some reason or another, Emmanuel Acho is continuing to go on his crusade, trying to convince George Pickens not to play on the franchise tag. So the guys over on Speakeasy talked about the situation, and TJ Houshmandzadeh shed some light on the subject. So we're going to take a listen to the 3 clips that I got for y'all, and y'all know what we're going to do after that. We're going to come back and unpack this raw and uncut. So, Angry Cowboys fans, let's take a listen to what the guys over on Speakeasy had to say about the George Pickens contract situation. Again.
Do you guys think George Pickens is making a mistake?
Absolutely. Now, again, until I see George Pickens lace up a game, even in preseason, not regular season, because if you play in preseason, you're going to play in regular season. I'm still not convinced that, like, he's playing in Dallas on this tag. I'm still not convinced. I got to see it to believe it because I haven't seen it before in the history of that agency, recent history. So until I see it, I can't change my belief. But if he does play on the tag, it's a gigantic mistake. You work to get a long-term contract, and he did everything he was supposed to do. Hey, trade me to a team. I'm going to lock in. I'm going to stay focused. I'm not going to miss any games for any boneheaded reasons. I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to ball, and y'all going to pay me long-term money. That's the deal. He did his end of the bargain, and now the Cowboys want to franchise tag him. You get franchise tagged once and you accept it. Why would they not franchise tag you again? The dilemma with the franchise tag, as you well know, T, play on this tag, you mess up an ankle, you mess up a hamstring, you mess up a quad, you mess up anything, that money that you were going to get, it might not be there again. You're not a quarterback. You're not Dak Prescott, who can fracture his leg and set a record-breaking deal. Furthermore, the Cowboys have also had success offensively without you, George Pickens. So let you mess around, get hurt. CeeDee Lamb go for 1,800 yards, which he's capable of. Have 190 catches, which he's capable of. Why would they tag you again? Let you get hurt and the Cowboys go to the playoffs, which they're capable of doing. Why would they tag you again? CeeDee Lamb is robbing tomorrow's fortune for today's wealth. I just don't think it's wise.
How is CeeDee Lamb robbing today's fortune for tomorrow's wealth? I don't get that, Emmanuel Acho. But you also said that George Pickens you should trade George Pickens, let him ball out, and get a massive contract. No matter whether the Dallas Cowboys trade him right now or not, George Pickens is going to have to play on the franchise tag. No matter if they trade him to a different team, he's going to have to play on the franchise tag because as of July 15th, it's too late for a contract extension this year. So no matter where he goes, no matter if he stays with the Dallas Cowboys or he goes to a different team, he's going to have to play on the franchise tag. And honestly, I don't think he's making a mistake playing on the franchise tag. According to Emmanuel Acho, he doesn't believe Pickens is going to play on said franchise tag. Cowboys fans know that Emmanuel Acho has been wrong on different topics since talking about this in the first place. He said that George Pickens wouldn't show up to mandatory minicamp, and George Pickens showed up to mandatory minicamp. He said that he would fake a back injury like Micah Parsons did. Well, George Pickens showed up and he continued to show out, and he didn't, and actually debunked those type of narratives to the media. So if George Pickens playing on the franchise tag will be yet another take that Emmanuel Acho gets wrong, hey, we got the whole NFL offseason and preseason to figure it out. Now let's go ahead and jump into the second clip so we can come back and talk about it. Let's go ahead and roll that clip.
The only difference I would suggest is Brees has been in New York, so we know who you are in that system, in that line, in that with those players, etc. Obviously, different coaching staff over his career. Pitts has been in Atlanta. We know who you are. Few different quarterbacks, but similar wide receivers on the outside. Bijan's been there behind you, etc. We knew who Pickens was. Even when he was in Pittsburgh, we knew he was better than that. He came to Dallas, proved he was better than that. And now you gonna tag me. My fear is like, people will treat you how you let them treat you. You know this. You talk to me about this all the time in different categories. As a human, if you let them tag you and you play under it, this is how they will treat you.
But ultimately, I believe behind the scenes, he tried to avoid that. And what it was like, what are we going to do? We tagged him. We're not letting him go for free. So we're not going to trade him because we like what we may have this season if our defense can kind of step up to the plate. And so for George Pickens I want a long-term deal, $100 million guaranteed. He's probably made $10 million, maybe 12 in his career. I'm a damn near triple that.
I'm telling you, Cowboys Nation, it seems more like Emmanuel Acho is fighting for David Mulugheta as opposed to fighting for George Pickens. But does a player get a contract based off of 1 year of great football play, or does a team want to see more than just 1 year? Does a team want to see multiple years? What we all expected was for George Pickens to have one great season and then get the Brinks truck backed into his backyard, right? I'm sorry, but it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way in the way of business. For example, I'm not going to break the bank for a product that I've only seen in action once. I want to know it's going to work for me for the long haul. And I believe this is what the Dallas Cowboys are doing with the franchise tag and George Pickens. But let's go ahead and get into the third clip so we can come back and unpack this raw and uncut.
George Pickens' agent is David Mulugheta. Don't you think George Pickens is being fiscally dumb and irresponsible? Fiscally. Here's why. Jalen Ramsey was in a similar predicament in Jacksonville. Jalen Ramsey gets traded to the Los Angeles Rams, becomes the highest paid cornerback in history, plus wins the Super Bowl. Earl Thomas was in a similar predicament in Seattle. Earl Thomas ends up with the Baltimore Ravens, becomes the highest paid safety in NFL history. Michael Parsons was in a similar situation in Dallas.
Last year.
Michael Parsons leaves Dallas, goes to Green Bay, becomes the highest defensive end in history. Would you not suggest, and all same representation of David Mulugheta, all of those individuals became the highest paid at their position in history after leaving their team?
And everything you're saying is 100% correct.
So
and
if
the
you
most
see
important thing is it's the same team, same people, same with Michael Parsons last year. But Micah had been there and experienced a ton of individual success, team success. George Pickens hasn't experienced this before. This was his first year. We all thought George Pickens can be a frontline receiver. We all thought it. But we weren't certain.
If George Pickens was your son, what would your advice be to him?
Let's see if we can hold out and get traded to get a long-term deal. Once that doesn't happen, we playing.
Boy, I swear the comparisons are off the chain when it comes to Emmanuel Acho. Over there talking about, well, what about this player or what about that player? Each player that he tries to compare George Pickens to had different situations that they were facing. They were drafted by the team that ended up franchise tagging them. These situations are not the same. But let's go ahead and dive into that a little bit deeper, shall we? Y'all ready for this raw and uncut? Y'all ready? Let's get it.
Get ready for the Angry Cowboys fans, raw and uncut.
Being keeping it real, they keep it real, that's real.
Boy, I tell you, Cowboys Nation, Emmanuel Acho is going hard in the paint trying to convince George Pickens not to play for the Dallas Cowboys on the franchise tag. And the question that I have is why? Why is Emmanuel Acho spending time trying to convince George Pickens not to play on the franchise tag? Is it because he's worried about George Pickens' well-being or something? Absolutely not. Nope, because he wouldn't give George Pickens a dime while George Pickens sat out and didn't get any game checks. I honestly believe that Emmanuel Acho is doing this because he's close friends with David Mulugheta. We've seen the same type of coverage from Adam Schefter because it's a you scratch my back and I'll give you the first scoop on my client type of relationship, and ain't nothing better than to be the first one to break a story when it comes to journalism and these players in the sports world. So Emmanuel Acho's going to get on his platform and talk all this talk in hopes of getting George Pickens to be persuaded to do what David Mulugheta wants him to do, and that's not play on the franchise tag. And Emmanuel Acho says that he hasn't seen it before in the history of that agency in recent history, as if the agency is the one that's going out there putting their body on the line and playing on the franchise tag. What does Athletes First have to do with George Pickens playing on the franchise tag, except for the fact that they weren't able to get a long-term deal done with the Dallas Cowboys? But the way Emmanuel Acho talks about it seems to be more about David Mulugheta's relationship and his reputation than it is about George Pickens' happiness and longevity within the league. It also seems as if the bag is the most important thing to Emmanuel Acho and not the happiness of George Pickens. What if George Pickens loves the situation that he finds himself in when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys? What if he loves the fact that he's across from CeeDee Lamb and he has Dak Prescott throwing him the football? What if he really likes the coaching staff and the organization as a whole? To Emmanuel Acho, screw all that. I can go out there and get you a bigger bag from another team, no matter if you're happy or not. That doesn't sound just like what an agent would say to you, Cowboys Nation. Doesn't it sound as if Emmanuel Acho is trying to do David Mulugheta's dirty work for him? This way, he can go to George Pickens and say, well, see, Pickens, I'm not the only one saying that you shouldn't go out there and play on the franchise tag. I feel that he doesn't care about a player's wants and desires and their want to be successful with an organization. I believe that it's all about the money to him. Then Emmanuel Acho tries to compare George Pickens' situation to other players like Michael Parsons or Jalen Ramsey or Thomas, when those situations and the situation Pickens finds himself in right now are not the same. Jalen Ramsey was drafted by the team that was trying to franchise tag him. Micah Parsons was drafted by the team that was trying to play him on his fifth-year option like the Dallas Cowboys didn't have the option to run with. They could have plugged that fifth-year option in, and there's absolutely nothing that they could have done about it. That's why it's called a fifth-year option for a reason. Getting the contract done instead of paying the player on the fifth-year option before it happens is a courtesy from the organization, and they're not obligated to do so. These examples that Emmanuel Acho are given, the organization was trying to tag each one of those players and saw multiple years from said players playing for their organization. Now, if the Dallas Cowboys drafted George Pickens, had 4 years of crazy production, and then wanted to franchise tag him, then those examples would work and George Pickens would be legitimized in sitting out or holding in or not participating. George Pickens is in more of a situation like, let's say, Jordan Love than he is a Jalen Ramsey, an Earl Thomas, or a Micah Parsons. Also, don't you find it a little bit ironic that the examples that Emmanuel Acho is given are all represented by the same agent in David Mulugheta? Micah Parsons, represented by David Mulugheta. Jalen Ramsey, represented by David Mulugheta. Earl Thomas, represented by David Mulugheta of Athletes First. Either Emmanuel Acho and David Mulugheta are in bed with each other, no diddy, not really, or he loves the name David for some reason or another. This is why something smells extremely fishy when he speaks on the topic, Cowboys Nation. As if David Mulugheta's reputation is more important than the player's comfortability with their particular team. This is why I'm also leery of David Mulugheta's intentions when it comes to getting the player's contract done within the league. Not all players are created equal. Some players may want to chase the bag. They'll get in front of the cameras and they'll play the hero. They'll play the baby face saying that, well, I don't have to be the highest paid, or I want to sign for something that the organization can have money for the salary cap so we can load this team with talent. Or what's the difference between $30 and $40 million, knowing good and damn well that your intentions are to break the bank and demand top of the market money? Either that or the representation talked them into demanding top of the market money. So many times I've seen videos where players say that their agent could get them this amount of money if they do this, that, and the third. Sure, that's the agent's job. But what happens when it's not about being the highest paid player at your position? What happens when it's about the situation that the player is in and his happiness with said situation? According to players like T. Higgins, I guess you would just have to fire David Mulugheta to get your agent to see things your way. I tell you, Cowboys Nation, I would love to hear exactly why T. Higgins fired David Mulugheta. Honestly, if your agent's listening to the player's wants and his desires, there would be no reason to fire the agent. I honestly feel that there would be two reasons to fire an agent, and one, that's because the agent got a garbage deal done with the organization, or two, the agent wouldn't listen to the client and continue to try and force his numbers on the organization instead of listening to the person that's paying his salary. The way Emmanuel Acho talks on this segment of Speakeasy, I would say it's the latter, Cowboys Nation. But TJ Housemanzada is absolutely right with his take on the George Pickens situation. This young man's making 3 times as much money as he has been in the league while on the franchise tag. No one wants to hustle backwards and turn their nose up to guaranteed money in their pocket right now. This one franchise tag is generational wealth for George Pickens right now. I understand that players want security of a long-term deal, and I believe it will get done once he shows the Dallas Cowboys that there's no issue with his consistency. I just feel that with David Mulugheta, it's mandatory to hustle backwards in order to land the biggest contract that you can possibly get. Remember, the agent gets more of a cut when a player signs for more money. Then Emmanuel Acho talks about the fact that George Pickens is not a quarterback and there's no guarantees that the Dallas Cowboys would pay him in the event of him getting hurt for the season. For some reason, they failed to mention Michael Gallup and how Jerry Jones paid him after he got hurt. Same position, but Emmanuel Acho doesn't like to give comparisons that are pretty accurate. He'll give those comparisons that further his narrative, though. But if you want my honest opinion, I believe that George Pickens is playing on the franchise tag this year because of his agent, David Mulugheta, and his desire to sign his players at top of the market money. If it was another agent fighting for a reasonable contract, I believe that the contract would have been done, but I see David Mulugheta trying to talk George Pickens into getting as much money as he can, not realizing or not caring that it'll screw up the player's chance in being happy in the situation that they find themselves in. But I don't think that George Pickens is being fiscally dumb, as Emmanuel Acho so eloquently put it, in his decision to play on the franchise tag this year. I do feel that this manufactured pressure coming from Emmanuel Acho and the people on Speakeasy is dumb, though. Why would Acho give a damn so much to make 5 videos on the same situation, trying to convince a player to make himself unhappy by sitting out and losing money? But I'm going to go ahead and end this video with a question that was presented to them, and that was the question. If George Pickens was your son, what would you tell him? Well, if George Pickens was my son, I would tell him to skip out on watching Speakeasy because they have absolutely zero investment in his future. I would tell him that people would try to talk him into sitting out or holding out and not playing and collecting game checks, but those same people would not give him 1 red cent if he didn't get money during the regular season. I'd tell my son to do what he felt in his heart was the right decision and to be responsible with his money. Don't allow those suckerfish to convince you into decisions that you would later regret in life, and I would tell him that no matter what, he is the boss. These PR people, these hairstylists, and these agents work for you. Don't allow anyone to tell you when to play, how to play, and who to play for. You do what makes you happy. In the end, you worked your ass off to get to where you are right now. In the end, work your ass off to fulfill your dreams. And that's dreams of winning a championship. Also, before we get out of here, I just want to say this real quick, Cowboys Nation. Jerry Jones better thank Jeremy Fowler for conducting that top 10s list at each position. Why should he be thanking ESPN and Jeremy Fowler? Because it unintentionally shows the unofficial market for the wide receiver position when it comes to talent. I mean, I'd love to get into that during this video, but maybe I'll do a different video. Y'all let me know if y'all want to see that video and y'all want my raw and uncut on that topic. But until then, this has been your man, the Angry Cowboys Fan. Cowboys Nation, I got so much to say about this topic, but if I were to continue this video, y'all would be sitting here for about an hour and a half. But I want to know what y'all think about the situation. Is George Pickens right on deciding to play on the franchise tag, or is Emmanuel Acho right in trying to cock-block him from playing on said tag? Y'all know how we do. We always talk about it in the comment section. If you're digging this content and you want to help get the word out to even more Dallas Cowboys fans, drop a like on this video, share it with anybody that you know is a Dallas Cowboys fan, and if you're on your mobile device and you haven't used them up yet, make sure you hype this video. Doing so could help get the word out to Cowboys fans. They'll come over to the Angry Cowboys Fan YouTube channel and want to become Angry Cowboys fans themselves. And if you are DC for life and you are glad that George Pickens is a Dallas Cowboy, but you hope that Jerry Jones could get a deal done with him after the season, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell so you do not miss anything from the Angry Cowboys Fan YouTube channel. Also, if you're into Madden 26, College Football 26, or Mortal Kombat talk, check out my other YouTube channel, the Angry Gaming Fan YouTube channel. I'll make sure I put the link to that as well as the gamer tag in the description. If you're not following me on Instagram, X, or TikTok, or you can find me on Threads as well, go ahead, follow your man, the Angry Cowboys Fan, and we can get some conversation going in. Also, when it comes to Nightfall in a couple weeks, I'll be talking to my man Sin, and we'll be discussing movies and movie reviews and pop culture. So if you're into that, we'll be going live over on TikTok. But Cowboys Nation, a wonderful situation that I would love to see Jerry Jones in is the situation of George Pickens going out there this year, balling out so much that it helps the Dallas Cowboys win a Super Bowl. Not saying that we're going to the Super Bowl, but hey, Vegas got odds on us making the Super Bowl. I want to see what Jerry Jones would do. I want to see Jerry Jones squirm in his seat after George Pickens holds up his end of the bargain. But I do believe that George Pickens deserves to get his bag. But the more people like David Mulugheta, Emmanuel Acho, or even Chad Ochocinco tries to force the situation, the more they're going to hurt his chances of getting the bag from the team that he loves to play for. I mean, y'all did it to Micah Parsons. Don't do it to George Pickens, too. But this has been your man, the Angry Cowboys Fan. Y'all let me know if y'all want to see that video. And I'm out. Dang, Angry Cowboys fan, you done made it through the entire video. But if you want more content, you can definitely go to this video right here. Or if you want the latest episode of the Angry Cowboys Fan podcast, you can go right here. But whatever you do, like, share, and subscribe to the channel, but remain DC for life.